It's a beautiful Wednesday morning in the city of Lagos. Good morning and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Life. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Let's take a look into the Vanguard newspaper. As a major headline, it says Tinubu, some African leaders bid Buhari farewell. Ignore Buhari's 8 years in power. He was a good man, says Kuka. Says late president was a good man. Buhari's statesman who came, saw, conquered. Sultan says, I'll carry your memory with me, Buhari's daughter says. Late president goes home in blaze glory, honor. Asafe Babalola Mustafa, Emami Dixon's Bantami pay tribute. You can find this story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. The top banner says again, Nigeria misses budget's 2025 crude oil output target. You can find the story on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. You can see a picture of Tinubu at Buhari's burial there as well. Um, we are yet to receive formal communication from UAE on revised visa policy, federal government says. You can find the story on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Gunmen allegedly kill 20 in Plateau night raid. You can find the story on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. And on page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper, ex-APC National Chair Oyegun registers with ADC in Edo. Renew Tantita contract now. Niger Delta Group appeal to federal government. Away from Vanguard newspaper, straight into the Punch newspaper. The Punch says, final salute. Nigeria beats Buhari emotional farewell. Lower banner says, over 420 federal roads completed or in progress. Federal government says, North Central State mobilized joint security to crush bandits. You can find the story on page 26 of the Punch newspaper. Away from the Punch, straight into the Nation. The Nation headline says Buhari exits in blaze of glory. And the top banner as Akpabio appeals judgment on Natasha's suspension suit. US UAE visa issuance. Federal government begins action on issues of concern. Away from the Nation into the Guardian newspaper. The front page of the Guardian says leaders, friends, politicians unite in stately farewell for Buhari. You can find the story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Lower banner says Senate declines Natasha's recall, insists no binding order. That's all we have on the front page of our newspaper headlines. Join us after the break for a brief analysis of some of our top stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining me today in the news on Vanguard Live, I'm Ololade Adeomi. Joining me in the studio today is Mr. Gbiru Olajuyigle. He's the Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Good morning, Mr. Gbiru Olajuyigle.
Good morning. It's a pleasure being with you.
Okay, so let's take a look into our first story for today. The late former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari was laid to rest on July 15th, yesterday, 2025, in his hometown of Daura, Katsina State. The solemn ceremony was attended by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Vice President Kashif Shettima, and several African leaders, including the Prime Minister of Niger and the former President of Niger as well. Also present were former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, Goodluck Jonathan, and Ibrahim Babangida, as well as former Vice Presidents Atiku Abubakar and Yemi Oshibajo. The burial was conducted with full military honors and Islamic rites. So let's start with your reaction, on hearing the passing of the former ex-president.
At 82, that was a relatively long life to live. Life under the umbrella of Nigeria socio-political economy. So it can be described as somebody that enjoy Nigeria, even though millions have no of people in the country have no such luxury to enjoy Nigeria in terms of what misgovernance has caused Nigeria as a country and Nigerians as a people. So the years of Buhari in governance is particularly important to Nigeria. During his first coming of course, he has taken many positions where he did well. For example, he was a commissioner for during the military era under President Obasanjo, or under head of state Obasanjo at that particular time. He performed well. The refineries were built in those era. He was equally the chairman of Petroleum Task Force under Abacha. And of course, there was a measure of sanity in terms of management of petrodollar, money coming from petroleum at that particular time. You could see the evidence of performance in terms of road infrastructures, working clinics and hospitals at that particular time. And the responsibility of Presidential Task Force at that time was to see that those infrastructure, particularly the non-tangible one, health, education work. So Buhari performed well under at that particular time. And when he became head of state of Nigeria, he came with war against indiscipline, even though it was imposed on Nigeria, but it brought a measure of sanity at that particular time. People behaved well. His second coming was when he was elected in 2015 to become the president of Nigeria, executive president of Nigeria for first time. And he was re-elected in 2019. Those 8 years, they are better forgotten, because there were years of pain, years of excruciating lamentation in terms of insecurity that claimed a lot of life under his watch. Almost 67,000 persons were brutally, violently, extrajudicially murdered and killed under his watch. That was unacceptable. That overshadowed any sort of performance that would come from such a president, because the primary responsibility of government is the welfare of the people and their security. So in the two cardinal constitutional expectations, Buhari did not do well. He didn't perform well as head of state. The most tragic part of it, he came with 3 mantras in that mantra of change. He broke them into 2. 1, fighting corruption. Secondly, rejuvenating economy. And the third one, let me think of it. But everything revolves around good governance. But in terms of corruption, Buhari as a person came with personal values. And that is why Nigerians in 2015 invested hope in him, thinking that those values were bankable. He was seen at that time as man of integrity, man of that cannot be corrupted, but a very honest man. But tragically, he failed woefully to sell those values, even to the people that he appointed, the people that surrounded him. He could not convince them. He could not sell the values, his personal values to them, which should be hallmark of leadership, because the whole essence of leadership is to convince people where you are going, and they are ready to follow you, trailing the pattern, your footstep and everything. But Buhari failed in that respect. I didn't know why. There's a measure of cacophony of noise about why such thing happened. 1, people assume that he was self-interested in quote. For example, that he saw himself as a Fulani man before seeing himself as a Nigerian at that particular time. And that it was easy to hang that on him. because of the almost irascible rampage, uncontrollable behavior of S-men who are principally specialty of his ethnic origin. So there was that sensation across the country, and one cannot deny or could not deny it at that particular time because of sheer helplessness of the government that was presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. So, in essence, it can be described as a good human being, but extremely bad administrators.
Okay, so
administrators, he has a partner.
away from all of that, what would you say the burial was befitting enough for an ex-president?
No burial is befitting. There's nothing called. There's no adjective that qualifies burials if you are not going to go to heaven. If you fail to live a Nigeria want to see, it's not a beautiful burial. We want to see beautiful governance, beautiful living that we can point to. That this, it doesn't matter how you die. After all, if he has done well, and assuming, not wishing that he died in plane crash and his body is not seen, but the work will speak. What matters after death is what you have done, and not the empty body that could no longer talk, that could no longer walk, that could no longer do anything or help any human being. That burial, maybe at best, it was politically necessary because Buhari was having a very, very high political capital, particularly in the northern part of the country, where, as they used to say, he already have 12 million votes in his cache. So the burial could be part of the struggle, the scrambling for those votes, rather than a genuinely intended action by whether the government or the opposition. So the burial was political in my own interpretation. Because do we need, look at it. Well, there are certain things that we should be shameful of even explaining or doing or talking about. We are not even calculating how a president, because that is the most significant validation of Buhari's failure. How a president that governed Nigeria for 8 years could not find a competent medical facility that will attend to his case in Nigeria. So it's very shameful that he went to London for treatment in the first place. That is an explanation. That is a very classical evidence of failure of governance. The same thing happened to Abubakar, former head of state, who was with maybe roommate or hospital mate or clinic mate with Buhari in London clinic. That clinic is not even a public hospital or clinic in UK. Then you can imagine how much was being spent every day, every time to maintain him in that hospital bed and in the hospital eventually. And those resources, I can bet that it came from, or they actually came from the ports of Nigeria. His transportation to Nigeria and everything, those are shameful things. Presidents are not expected, they are supposed to be the model we want to see, or that the model of confidence that will make people go to our medical facility when they are sick. Imagine if President Tinubu or governors are attending a public hospital. They will be forced to work on that. So to say that Buhari, to measure his government success or failure, you don't need to go far than just isolating that single last incident of his existence on the planet Earth. Being in London was a waste, was a testimony to the fact that Nigeria is not working. I watched on TV when Femi Adesina was trying to explain that it even wasn't the case, that if Buhari had not been going to London, he would have died long time ago. So that explains why most Nigerians are dying. Governance that they presided over. Because they are incompetent. And this same Buhari, when he took over in 1983, I was old enough, I was already. So he said that our hospitals have become mere consulting clinics. Only few feet short of being called mortuary, and almost 40-something years after, it still remained the same, despite the 8 years rule of the man who made that assessment as far back as 1983. So the burial, the funeral is for political capital. So how do we scramble and cash this 12 million votes? How do we make ourselves look or smell like roses to possibly these northerners or northern voters that always vote for Buhari? And also, the most annoying part of the funeral arrangement was the declaration of public holiday. Do you know the ways that have been caused? Children are writing NECO. Do you know what has caused? The parents, the students, the disillusion, those who have hospital to attend to, those who have one engagement or the other, whether financial engagement or transaction that they need to perform that they couldn't perform that. These are things that are unnecessary. I don't know why we are like this. I don't know who we want to please. All Nigerians did not go to Daura. Those less than infinitesimal percentage of Nigeria, less than 0.00000001 went to Daura. Why unleashing your extravagance and the love for unnecessary bravado on Nigeria? Must we bear the burden of the rich? Flag was already flying at half-mast. The flag flew at half-mast when 200 people were killed in Benue State. These are the lessons that the poor, the underdog, the shortchanged, the excluded Nigeria should begin to learn. Why should a flag be flying at half-mast when those who have little or no contribution to Nigeria progress are dead? Even when they have opportunity to have impacted Nigeria greatly.
Okay, so there's a particular...
Those are the questions that we should be reflecting on as a people, and of course, as those who truly and genuinely love Nigeria. Up till now, I'm still fantoning the necessity for such public holiday. Grossly unnecessary, incompetently proclaimed, and of course, it didn't serve any purpose for a country that is low in terms of production, that for a country where people move about day in, day out to make a living, for a country in economic doldrum. It did not, and it does not make sense.
Okay, so there's a particular picture on the internet circulating now. It's one of the most talked about picture right now on the internet, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu bowed in respect to, bid farewell to the ex-president. What do you think about this particular picture?
I didn't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so there's a particular picture circulating the internet where it's one of the most talked about picture from the burial, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu bowed in respect and to bid farewell to the ex-president. What do you think about this particular picture?
I have no problem with the choice of activity that anyone personally take. That picture will not revive Nigeria economy. That is not our problem. Maybe that is where it felt that it could honor the president, the late president, That is personal to him. I personally don't have grudge against anything you choose. It could depend on his religion, whether he is permitted by what he believes in as a Christian, as a Muslim, as idol worshiper, or even a Satanist. So whichever he chooses to do, and now he tries to honor the dead and everything. One thing I know is that only necromancers that speak to the dead. The dead didn't see him. It's only the living. He should just raise his head up and focus on the living. Now, the dead is gone. Whether you bow to him or you clean his mouth or you kiss him, it's of no value to any human being, not even to the dead. The president has the responsibility now to arise and treat Nigerians well. Nigerians are suffering. Whatever he did at the funeral of Buhari, hence with his burial, is not in turn in the prosperity of Nigeria. His concern now should be how to build a prosperous country. Look at how, even if you do analysis of people ridiculing Buhari and everything one thing I believe is that it's better to have even square, and that is my what I will enjoy Nigeria to do. Criticize your leaders, put them under scrutiny, screen them, extract accountability from them when they are alive. You are just kicking a dead horse when you continue. This one is causing Buhari, blaming Buhari and everything. Those things, they don't go far. They don't go anywhere. They don't change anything. Damage has been made. Correction by him is impossible. The person who can learn from those mistakes are those that are living, particularly those in responsibility, who have the duty to perform, duty to protect, duty to secure the territorial integrity of Nigeria. Those are the people that we should focus on. If you blame Buhari tomorrow, even when he was alive himself, they hear anybody or listening to anybody. He doesn't get that thing. Whatever you talk about him, he was immune to most emotion expressed when he was alive, not to talk when he's dead. So let us prioritize what matters. And that is the problem with Nigeria. Now Buhari is dead. Some of them are even ridiculously and foolishly, badly wishing Tinubu to die. Tinubu will not die. That's how you wish Buhari to die. Because God does not listen to such prayer or requests. You even prolong the life of your enemies when you are wishing him to die. Because God knows how to deal with your enemy, even if you yourself are righteous. It is like the wicked condemning the wicked. That is the situation in Nigeria. The wicked, even these ordinary people, because Nigeria's problem is that of not leadership alone, is that of even the follower. When you just keep silence, silence is evil when there's something to express and speak about. Silence is an endorsement of evil when you don't speak against it. And that has been the practice in Nigeria. The social media in the next 1 week, we forget about Buhari and look at another thing to cause or to do whatever and everything. But the critical issue of governance, they will never feel. They will never
to our
talk about
second
it.
story for today. So, Nigeria's 2025 budget projected crude oil at 2.06 million barrel per day and a benchmark price of $75 per barrel. But the actual production has lagged to 1.5 to 1.7 million per day, while prices of the barrel has hovered around $65 to $70 per barrel. This has led to reduced production and lower prices, are eroding revenue as well. The IMF has warned that assumptions are unrealistic and advises revising the budget, cutting recurrent spending, and redirecting fuel subsidy savings to social protection. Do you think there are mechanisms that should be put in place to reassess these assumptions since we're already, mid-year, 6 months out of 2025 already?
I don't advise government on mechanism about oil price in Nigeria or in the global market. If the price is high, the government will tell you they will punish you. that is because what they are doing is because of the spike in international price market of oil, and it's not. They will even justify it that it's not peculiar to Nigeria alone. So the head or tail, the people lose. If the price is low, they will tell you that they are maintaining the price so that they can fill the gap that has been created by the low price. So head or tail, the people lose. That is the Nigeria we are in. That is the practice that has been in Nigeria for a long time, where a tiny majority at the peak of the pyramid continue to enjoy, while others, the most majority are condemned to absolute poverty. Whether the price of oil rises in the market, international market, or falls in the international market, nobody should rejoice, particularly the poor. If it's high, the poorer they become. If it's low, the poorer they become, because nothing gets to them. And look, let me just use this opportunity to explain what is going on in Nigeria. They say that Tinubu is making money because of oil pricing and other things for Nigerians, and there are more states going to the governors now. The money is not coming from the expertise or strategic intelligence of the president or the economic managers. The money is coming from impoverishment of the poor. The money they are making now is coming from what the poor, ordinary people, majority people are losing. And government is getting richer, public people are getting poorer. So the money is not coming from any economic strategy or economic this thing. It's as simple as that. You collect transportation money from me. I go to filling station now, where I was buying 1,000 before. I buy 10,000 for what was 1,000 before. 9,000 has gone to government. That is the economic magic that is going on in Nigeria. And you allow very unconscionable economists to deceive you, to massage your ego, and feel that Tinubu is now making money for the state. It's not making any money for the state. It's impoverishing the people to enrich the state. Because the valid theory of economic development is that for you to experience growth, there must be production. You cannot experience growth in a country where hundreds of companies are closing shop and they are moving out of Nigeria. So if you don't have that, every other thing is deception. It's deception. It can be captured by econometrician, but it's not valid in practical sense and of value addition. So there's no value addition that is going on. That is the magic that is going on now. Impoverishing the poor to enrich the state. And you now have a total state and poorer people that cannot even challenge the government because they are poor and they focus on how they will eke out a living. So that is what is going on. So I don't celebrate whatever happened in the oil sectors. Look at it now. Even the president was so deceived to the extent that he congratulated Mele Kyari for refinery that was not working. They deceived him. But now, Obasanjo was saying it at that particular time, and many people are castigating this Baba. He doesn't know what he's saying. He just go and visit the refinery, and the NNPC under Mele Kyari transported journalists to the refinery site. Journalists that knew nothing about energy, that has not even covered energy desk before. They were there, all of them. The refinery was working and everything. But look at it now. So it doesn't matter how far lies have gone. Truth will catch up with it. And that is the case of Nigeria. A country that is wrapped in a deceptive governance and extreme policy facades that continue to put Nigerians under grave undertaking to the extent they become poorer and poorer, and they are unable to raise their voice to challenge any government in power. It's a political strategy.
So the IMF,
of decimating
The IMF, has advised that, spendings be cut, few subsidy savings also be redirected to social transfers and social services. How feasible is all of that in today's political climate?
When did IMF become the protectors of the poor that he should be advising? He has not, even this chaos they are witnessing in our economy is the advice of the IMF. We have seen this thing as far back as 1986, when Buhari wanted to borrow, and Babangida wanted to borrow 2.8 billion naira at that particular time. And we were in the university, some of us were student leaders at that particular time. We raised voices against it. The same IMF is coming. Tell me one country that IMF in a developing economy that IMF has helped to grow. Nigeria's economic growth will come out of understanding the context and disrupting the economic system. Disruption of the economic system means that you understand the context of what is dragging or causing poverty in Nigeria, not what IMF or World Bank or any of the breakthrough institution is telling you, and you relate and connect with your people and you understand them, and you apply the appropriate economic mechanism, appropriate economic model to solve the problem, not IMF recommendation. That is in their own interest. Today is not a day. I will have explained to you how those institutions, World Bank, IMF, came into existence, how they came to recognize dollar as the means of exchange, a global means of exchange. So it's in the interest of the West, the North Pole, the North Hemisphere, and not the southern poorer countries like Nigeria. So they should keep their own advice. They can never help Nigeria. And one person that has understood this, but tragically, he was denied opportunity and eventually killed, was MKO Abiola. That was the cornerstone of this debate during the presidential debate in 1993. So other Nigerians are just boy for IMF and the Western world. Maybe you saw how Trump was teaching some president English as if they are puppies or in primary school. That is the mechanism they have put in place to turn our rulers in Africa to rent collectors for their own development and not for our own. And the supervision of such exercise has been considered to the World Bank, the IMF, and other breakthrough institutions.
Let's take a brief look at this. So, there have been issues of oil theft and vandalism to show that it has continued to drag oil production. What progress would we say the present government has done to address these clampdowns?
Well, no matter what they have done, look, whether have they found out the problem with oil theft? They are getting oil from your background. That's what I'm saying, that it's a despicable economic system that makes the state rich and make the others, where they get the resources poorer. In the Niger Delta, are profusely work. We have implemented projects, particularly conflict projects, in the Niger Delta, from day to day and everything. And I was appointed by Yaradua into technical committee on Niger Delta. Before he died, I think that was 2008 and everything. So the problem of Niger Delta and oil is clear to me. So if those people are getting poorer, are they not frustrated enough to begin to steal oil that they have? It's even better now that they are not even pumping the pipelines again. They are just getting their own and refining it in what they call a sort of modular refinery or whatever they call that. So, and I've said, the theory of Nigeria's oil economy is that the poor never benefit. The people never benefit. So, if they are stealing it, in fact, I even pray that the oil will dry up so that our brain will reset, particularly the brain of leaders in Nigeria, so that we know that there's something greater than oil. What oil is India making? What oil? Do they have oil in UK, particularly in Britain? And development is coming in because they use their brain, and even using their brain to exploit you that have oil for mineral resources.
Thank you very much for joining us,
So what
Mr.
are we
Vero.
talking about?
Thank you very much for joining us.
So it's a
Mr.
pleasure
Vero,
being with you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for staying with us. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms as seen on your screen, and check our website for up-to-date stories at www.vanguardngr.com. My name is Olola Adeomi. Have a lovely day.